My name is Shella Conklin, 29 years old. At my sister's wedding 3 weeks ago, a $120,000 event with 200 guests at the estate in Los Altos Hills. My parents seated me at table 25, with the wedding planner's 9-year-old son, and 4 other children under 12. My place card read, Ms. Shella Conklin. No profession listed. Everyone else's card said things like, Dr. Martinez, cardiologist, or Mr. Cooper, director at Google, or Ms. Patterson, senior VP at Salesforce. Mine just had my name, like I'd never done anything worth mentioning. My mother waved from the head table, elevated 6 inches above the rest of the room, holding her 3rd glass of champagne. She shouted across the tent, loud enough for half the reception to hear, "Shella, at least you got a plate?" Some people laughed, uncertain, obligatory. Others looked away. What they didn't know was that I'd requested table 25. I'd texted Susan Callahan, the wedding planner, 2 weeks before and asked her specifically to seat me there, because I knew exactly who else would be at that table. And I knew what would happen when that 9-year-old boy asked me one simple question. Before I tell you what happened next, if you've ever been placed at a table like table 25 in your own family, dismissed or made to feel invisible despite everything you've accomplished, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. Drop a comment and tell me, where are you watching from and have you ever felt like your own family didn't see your worth? I read every single one. Now, here's exactly what happened that night. Let me back up. My sister Natalie is 26, product manager at Google, $210,000 a year plus stock. She graduated Stanford in 2021, computer science, summa cum laude. Our parents threw a party for 60 people when she got the offer letter. They rented out a restaurant in Palo Alto, posted about it on Facebook 17 times. I'm 29. I teach special education at the Los Altos Community Center. I make $82,000 a year. I graduated Stanford in 2019, psychology, summa cum laude, same honors as Natalie. Our parents had a small dinner, 12 people, no Facebook posts. The difference wasn't the honors, it wasn't even the school. It was what we chose to do after. Natalie chose Google, big tech, prestige, stock options, a career path our parents understood. A career path they could brag about at dinner parties in Los Altos Hills, where everyone's child works at Meta or Apple or has a startup. I chose children who couldn't speak yet. Children who struggled to hold pencils. Children whose parents couldn't afford $300 an hour private therapy. Our parents called it embarrassing. Not to my face, not at first. But I heard my mother on the phone 2 months after I started. December 2019. I'd come home for Christmas. She was in the kitchen, talking to her sister. Natalie's doing so well at Stanford, computer science. She'll make 6 figures right out of school. Pause. Shella? Oh, she works with children, special needs, at a community center. Another pause. Longer. I know, I don't understand it either. All that Stanford education for $68,000. She didn't know I was in the hallway. Or maybe she did. That was 7 years ago. The erasure started small. My name got smaller on Christmas cards each year. By 2023, I wasn't in the family photo anymore. Natalie said the photographer ran out of time. We'd been standing there for 40 minutes. At family dinners, my mother would introduce Natalie first. Always. This is Natalie, our daughter at Google. She just led a launch for 3 million users. Then she'd pause. Look at me. And this is Shella. No job title, no accomplishments, just my name, like a footnote. My father was worse in some ways. He didn't erase me, he quantified me. You're wasting a Stanford degree on finger painting, he said in August 2020, the first time I brought up my work over dinner. We were at a restaurant in Los Altos. He'd ordered a $150 bottle of wine to celebrate Natalie's first promotion. I'd just told him about a breakthrough with a 6-year-old girl named Lucia. She'd been nonverbal for her entire life. After 8 weeks of work, she'd said her first sentence. I want water, please. My father listened, put down his wine glass, and said, That's nice, Shella. But you could be making real money with that degree. Natalie's already at 140 base salary. I didn't argue. I'd learned by then that arguing made it worse, so I smiled, nodded, changed the subject. But I stopped telling them about my work after that. Here's what I didn't tell them. In June 2019, 2 weeks before graduation, I volunteered at a community center in East Palo Alto. It was a Saturday morning. I was helping with a reading program. There was a girl there, 8 years old. Her name was Lucia. She had autism, level 3, nonverbal. Her mother worked 2 jobs and couldn't afford therapy. The center offered free programs, staffed by volunteers. I spent 6 weeks that summer working with Lucia. Just us, twice a week, 30-minute sessions. I used picture cards, hand-over-hand prompting, functional communication training. On the last day of August, Lucia looked at me and said, Thank you, Miss Shella. 4 words. Clear, intentional. Her mother cried. I cried. The center director cried. That was the day I made my choice. I could go to grad school. 6 more years. 200,000 in debt. A PhD in clinical psychology. A private practice in Palo Alto where I'd counsel adults about their careers and relationships. Or I could start now, with children who needed help today. Not in 6 years. Today. Lucia couldn't wait 6 years for me to finish a PhD. So I didn't apply to grad school. I applied to the Los Altos Community Center. They offered me $68,000. I accepted. I didn't tell my parents until 3 days before I started. August 2019. We were at dinner. Natalie was about to leave for her sophomore year at Stanford. My father said, So Shella, which grad programs did you apply to? I said, I'm not going to grad school. I got a job at the Los Altos Community Center. I start Monday. Silence. My mother put down her fork. A job? What kind of job? Special education. Working with children who have developmental disabilities. For how much? 68,000. My father's face went red. Not angry red. Disappointed red. Worse. You're throwing away a Stanford degree for $68,000? I'm using it, I said, just differently. My mother looked at Natalie, then at me. What will we tell people? That our daughter babysits? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The verdict was in. 3 days later, my mother left me a voicemail. I still have it saved. Shella, it's Mom. About your job. When you come to events with us, don't mention what you do. Just say you're exploring options. People won't understand. I deleted it after listening twice, but I remember every word. That was my first day at the center, September 3rd, 2019. 11 kids, ages 5 to 9, 7 boys, 4 girls. All of them had some form of developmental disability. Autism, Down syndrome, speech delays, learning disabilities. None of their families could afford private therapy. I worked with each child individually, 30-minute sessions, 4 kids a day, sometimes 5. The rest of my time was spent on lesson plans, progress notes, parent consultations. The pay was low, the work was hard. I went home exhausted every day. But by December, 3 of those kids were speaking in full sentences. 2 were reading at grade level. 1 had learned to write his name. I didn't tell my parents any of this. They never asked. Fast forward to February 2023. A woman named Susan Callahan came to the center. She was an event planner, weddings, corporate events, high-end stuff. She lived in Los Altos Hills, nice house, good income. She had a son, Jamie, 6 years old, autism, level 2, minimally verbal. He could say a few words, mom, blue, yes, no, but he couldn't hold a conversation. Couldn't read. Struggled with eye contact. Insurance didn't cover the kind of intensive therapy he needed. Private therapy was $300 an hour. Susan couldn't afford it. She'd heard about our center from a neighbor. She called, asked if I could work with Jamie. I said yes. We met on a Tuesday. February 14th, 2023, Valentine's Day. I remember because Jamie brought a Valentine card his teacher had helped him make. It had a red heart on it. He handed it to me and said, "Blue." That was his word for everything he liked. Blue. I worked with Jamie every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 years. 60 sessions the first year, 58 the second, 56 the third, 174 sessions total. I didn't charge Susan, not once. She offered. Every session, she'd try to pay me $50, $20, whatever she could. I always said no. Insurance should cover this, I told her. It doesn't, so someone has to. By month 3, Jamie said, "Miss Shella." 2 words. Clear. By month 8, he started making eye contact. Just for seconds at first, then longer. By year 2, he could speak in 3-word sentences. "I want snack." "Read book, please." "Mom pickup." By January 2026, 3 years after we started, Jamie could read 23 words. Simple words. Cat, dog, mom, blue, chocolate. On January 15th, he read a full sentence from a picture book. "The cat is blue." It was the wrong sentence. The cat in the book was orange, but he'd tried. He'd sounded out the words. He'd read. Susan cried. She hugged me. She said, "How do I thank you?" I said, "You don't." What I didn't tell Susan, or my parents, or anyone, was that Jamie wasn't the only child I'd helped. Between 2019 and 2025, I worked with 43 children at the center. 21 of them I worked with for free. The other 22 paid on a sliding scale, whatever their families could afford. $20 a session, 50, 100 if they could manage it. Lucia, the girl from 2019, was in 8th grade now, honor roll, reading at a 10th grade level. A boy named Connor, who I'd worked with from 2021 to 2023, was in 4th grade, speaking fluently. His father was a director at Google. A girl named Ava, who couldn't hold a pencil in 2024, was now writing full sentences. Her mother was an attorney. 8 families from my caseload lived in Los Altos Hills or Palo Alto. Wealthy families. Families who could afford private therapy, but chose me because their children needed consistency, and I gave evening sessions when the kids weren't exhausted from school. My parents didn't know any of this. I never told them. They never asked. And when Natalie got engaged in November 2025, I didn't mention that I'd probably worked with children whose parents would be at the wedding. The engagement happened at the French Laundry, Yountville, $850 a person. Austin Reed proposed with a 4-carat ring. Natalie posted 40 photos on Instagram. Austin was 32, venture capitalist at Sequoia Capital, net worth around $15 million, according to his LinkedIn. Old money family from Connecticut. His parents, Thomas and Caroline Reed, ran the Peninsula Children's Foundation, $8 million a year in grants for special needs programs. I knew about the foundation. I'd researched it 2 years ago when I was looking for funding for the center. We didn't qualify. Too small, no board of directors, no formal nonprofit structure. But I knew the Reeds funded good work, serious work, evidence-based interventions. They weren't just writing checks to feel good. Natalie didn't know I knew about the foundation. She didn't know much about my work at all. When she announced the engagement at Thanksgiving dinner, my mother cried, happy tears. She posted on Facebook within 5 minutes. Our daughter Natalie engaged to venture capitalist Austin Reed. So proud. I wasn't tagged, I wasn't mentioned. I liked the post, commented, "Congrats," with a heart emoji. Natalie texted me an hour later. "Thanks, Shells. Hey, about the wedding. Mom said don't bring anyone. Your work friends probably wouldn't fit in with Austin's crowd. You understand, right?" I texted back, "No problem." I didn't have anyone to bring anyway. The wedding planning started in December. Venue deposit, $28,500. Total budget, $118,000. The estate at Rancho Las Lomas, Palo Alto Hills. Capacity, 250. Guest list, 200. 8 bridesmaids. All Google coworkers. 0 family. I found out I wasn't in the bridal party from Instagram. Natalie posted a photo. My girls! 8 women in matching robes. I wasn't in the photo. I texted her. Beautiful bridesmaids. She texted back. Thanks. Austin's family is really traditional. They wanted the bridal party to be people who've known us as a couple. You understand, right? I said, of course. January came. Invitations went out. Mine arrived on January 8th. Cream cardstock, calligraphy, heavy. The envelope said, Ms. Shella Conklin. No +1. Inside, the invitation read, Natalie Conklin and Austin Reed request the honor of your presence. February 15th, 5 o'clock. Black tie optional. IRSVP'd yes. 2 weeks before the wedding, my mother showed me the seating chart. We were at her house. She'd printed it out. 25 tables, 8 seats per table. Tables 1 through 20. Google people, VCs, tech executives, Austin's family and friends, extended Conklin family, my parents' friends. Table 21 through 24, overflow, neighbors, distant cousins. Table 25, children and family overflow. My name was there, listed last, added in a different font. I looked at the other names, Susan Callahan, Jamie Callahan. 4 other children, ages 6 through 12, from various families. My mother said, We're seating you with Susan and her son. You work with children anyway. You'll be comfortable. I looked at her. This is the children's table. It's the family overflow table. I'm the only adult family member at this table. She smiled. Thin. Well, someone has to supervise the kids. And you're good with kids, right? I didn't argue. I looked back at the chart. I saw Jamie's name, and I had an idea. I texted Susan that night. Hey, I saw the seating chart. I'm at your table. Is Jamie coming? She texted back, Yes, I didn't know you'd be there. Jamie will be so happy to see you. I wrote, Perfect. 3 dots appeared. Then, Shella, is everything okay? I know family weddings can be complicated. I wrote back, Everything's fine. I requested that table. You requested the kids' table? I did. Why? I didn't answer right away. I thought about it, typed, because I knew who'd be there. February 10th, 5 days before the wedding. My mother called. Shella, one more thing, the place cards. Okay? We're doing professional titles on everyone's cards, to help people network. So I need to know what to put for you. I knew where this was going. What are you putting for everyone else? Well, Dr. Martinez is a cardiologist, so we're putting that. Mr. Cooper is a director at Google. Ms. Callahan runs an event planning company. What are you putting for me? Silence. Then, I was thinking we'd just put your name. No title? Well, you're not a doctor, and teacher seems, I don't know. Most of the guests are in tech or medicine or law. It might seem. She didn't finish. I said, You can put Ms. Shella Conklin. No profession. Are you sure? I'm sure. Okay, thanks, honey. She hung up. I sat there for 5 minutes. Then I texted Susan. Can you do me a favor? She wrote back. Anything. When Jamie asks me questions at the wedding, let him ask. Don't stop him. 3 dots. Then, what kind of questions? I typed. About what we do together, about school, about reading. Long pause. Then, Shella, what are you planning? I wrote, Nothing. I'm just not hiding anymore. February 7th. The wedding. I drove to the estate alone. 42 minutes from my apartment in Mountain View. I wore a navy dress. $89 from Nordstrom Rack. Simple. I'd had it for 2 years. I arrived at 3:45. The ceremony started at 5. I was early on purpose. I wanted to see the setup. The venue was beautiful, rolling hills, oak trees, string lights everywhere. The ceremony site was on a lawn overlooking the valley. 200 white chairs, a flower arch, a string quartet playing pachelbel. I walked to the tent where the reception would be. White fabric draped from the ceiling, Edison lights, floral centerpieces on every table. Each centerpiece was probably $800, $900. I found table 25, far right corner, near the kitchen entrance. Smaller centerpiece than the others. 8 place cards. I picked up mine. Ms. Shella Conklin. I looked at the others. Dr. Martinez, cardiologist. Mr. Cooper, director at Google. Ms. Susan Callahan, principal, Callahan Events. Jamie Callahan. 4 more cards for children, ages 6 through 12, all listed with last names, no titles. Everyone else's card had their profession, even the children's parents. Mine didn't. I put my card back down, walked back to my car, sat there until 4:50. The ceremony started at 5:03. I sat in row 18, bride's side, right section, behind people I didn't know, in front of people I didn't know. Front rows were Austin's family, old money, elegant, quiet. Natalie walked down the aisle at 5:12. Vera Wang gown, $12,000. I knew because my mother had told me on the phone. Can you believe it? 12,000. But Austin's parents are helping with the dress. They're so generous. The ceremony lasted 23 minutes. I counted 6 families in the crowd that I recognized. Parents of children I'd worked with over the years. None of them approached me. A few waved, one mouthed hi. I nodded back. During the vows, I noticed Austin's mother glance back at me. Row 18. She held the look for 2 seconds, maybe 3. Her face was neutral, but something in her expression seemed familiar, like she was trying to place me. Then she turned back to the ceremony. Cocktail hour started at 5:30. Lawn, past appetizers, open bar. I stood near a hedge for 47 minutes. No one talked to me. I overheard conversations, IPOs, funding rounds, stock options. Someone closed a Series C. Someone else just left Meta for a startup. At 6:04, I heard my mother's voice. She was introducing Natalie to a group of guests. This is Natalie, our daughter. She's a product manager at Google. Just got promoted to L6. Total comp is 340. Someone asked, "Do you have other children?" My mother paused. "We have 2 daughters. Natalie here and, well, Shella's here somewhere." "What does she do?" Another pause. Longer. "She works with children." The conversation moved on. I stayed by the hedge. At 6:28, I saw Susan arrive with Jamie. He was wearing a little suit, navy blue. He looked uncomfortable, kept pulling at his collar. Then he saw me. His face lit up. "Miss Shella!" He ran over, loud. No volume control. Autism trait. Susan followed, smiling. "Hi, Shella, you look beautiful." Jamie hugged my waist. "Miss Shella, I wore my blue tie. See?" He pointed to his tie. It was blue, with tiny dinosaurs. "I see it, Jamie. It's perfect." He grinned. That's when I knew. It was going to work. At 6:45, a coordinator directed everyone into the reception tent. I walked to table 25. 8 chairs. Susan and Jamie were already there. So were 4 children, ages 6 through 12, and 2 of their parents, who looked around confused. One parent said to the coordinator, "I think there's a mistake. This is the children's table." The coordinator checked her list. "No, this is correct. Table 25, children and family overflow." The parent looked at me. "Are you?" "I'm the bride's sister," I said. Their face went blank. "Oh." They didn't ask anything else. I sat down next to Jamie. Susan sat on his other side. The tent was buzzing, 200 people finding their seats, music playing, champagne being poured. At 6:52, I looked toward the head table. My parents were there. Natalie and Austin in the center. Austin's parents on one side, my parents on the other. The table was elevated 6 inches, literally above everyone else. My mother saw me. She waved, held up her champagne glass, her third one, I'd been counting. Then she shouted across the tent, "Shella, at least you got a plate!" She laughed. People at tables 1, 2, and 3 laughed with her. Uncertain. Obligatory. Austin's mother didn't laugh. She looked at my mother. Then at me. Her face was neutral, but her eyes stayed on my mother for 3 seconds. Then she turned to my father and said something I couldn't hear. Jamie tugged my sleeve. "Miss Shella, why is everyone looking?" "They're not, buddy. They're just excited." He nodded, pulled out his menu card. First course, garden salad. Jamie ate 3 bites, pushed the rest around his plate. He was looking at the menu card, cream card stock, calligraphy, 3 courses listed. He pointed to a word, salmon. "Miss Shella, what's this word?" I leaned over. "Sound it out. What's the first letter?" "S." "Good. What sound does S make?" "Okay, keep going." "S." "L." "Yes. Keep going." "Salmon?" "Salmon. You got it." He smiled. Big. Proud. Susan was watching us. Her eyes were wet. She whispered, "He's never tried to read a menu before." I whispered back, "He's ready." Jamie kept reading, pointed to another word. "Oh, chocolate," I said. He repeated it. "Chocolate." Then he looked up at me. His face was open, innocent. He had no idea what was about to happen. He said, "Normal volume," which for Jamie was loud. "Miss Shella, can you teach me how to read this menu like you taught me to read at school?" The table went quiet first. Then the tables around us. Then the whole tent. It happened in 3 seconds. Jamie's voice carried. Autism meant no volume control. His question was loud, clear, innocent. "Miss Shella, can you teach me how to read this menu like you taught me to read at school?" Then he kept going. No social awareness, no filter. "Remember? When I couldn't read cat and you helped me and now I can read chocolate?" The tent was silent. 200 people stopped talking, stopped eating, stopped moving. All of them turned. Some looked at Jamie. Most looked at me. My mother's champagne glass stopped halfway to her mouth. Austin's mother turned fully in her chair. I looked at my watch, 7:18. Susan put her hand on Jamie's shoulder. "Jamie, sweetheart, Miss Shella is having dinner." But Jamie wasn't done. "Miss Shella is my teacher. She taught me to read." He said it like it was the best news in the world. 200 people stared. 43 seconds passed. No one moved. My mother's face was frozen, champagne glass still midair. Then Austin's mother stood. Caroline Reed walked toward table 25. She was elegant. Cream dress, pearls, hair perfect. She moved like someone used to being watched. She stopped in front of our table, looked at Jamie, smiled, soft, then looked at me. "I'm sorry," she said. "You're a teacher?" I nodded. "Special education, Los Altos Community Center." Her face changed. Not shock. Recognition. "Los Altos Community Center?" "Yes." She turned to her husband. "Thomas, Los Altos Community Center. That's the one on your research list." Thomas Reed stood, walked over, looked at me. "You work there?" "I do." He looked at Jamie, then at Susan, then back at me. "We've had that center on our research list for 2 years. Our foundation director mentioned an exceptional teacher there, someone who was doing intensive work with nonverbal children, someone who worked for free." He paused. "That was you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Susan stood. Her voice was shaking. It was her. Susan turned to face the tent. 200 people watching. She was a professional speaker. Event planner. She knew how to command a room. Her voice was clear, strong. Miss Conklin worked with my son every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 years. Jamie was minimally verbal when we started. He's 9 now. He speaks. He reads. He's here tonight because of her. Her voice cracked. She never charged me, not once. I offered to pay. She always said no. Silence. Then a woman at table 12 stood. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, mother of Lucia, the girl I'd worked with in 2019. Sarah's voice was steady, firm. My daughter Lucia is here tonight. She's a junior bridesmaid. She's 13. 6 years ago she couldn't say her own name. Miss Conklin worked with her that summer. For free, every day, 2 hours a day. She pointed to table 15. A teenage girl stood, long brown hair, bridesmaid dress. She waved at me. Lucia is in 8th grade now, honor roll. She reads at a 10th grade level. Sarah's voice got stronger. That's because of Miss Conklin. Another person stood. Table 7, David Morrison, Google director, father of Connor. I'm a director at Google. I make $400,000 a year. I can afford any therapist in the Bay Area, any specialist, any program. He paused. But when my son Connor was diagnosed with autism in 2021, every private therapist had a 6-month waiting list. Every program was full. I was desperate. He looked at me. Miss Conklin saw my son after hours, twice a week, for 2 years. She charged me $50 a session. Private therapy is $300. She said my son needed consistency more than I needed to overpay. His voice broke. Connor is in 4th grade now. He speaks in full sentences. He has friends. He's here tonight. He pointed to a table in the back. A boy, 10 years old maybe, waved. David looked at my mother. You have a remarkable daughter. A third person stood. Jennifer Torres, attorney, mother of Ava. My daughter writes now. Full sentences, paragraphs. She's 6. 2 years ago she couldn't hold a pencil. She looked at me. Miss Conklin taught her. In a community center. For free. Because she said every child deserves a chance. Jennifer held up a piece of paper. Construction paper. Crayon drawing. Ava made this tonight. It says, for Miss Shella, thank you for teaching me. She set it on her table. Silence. Then a 4th person stood. Then a 5th. By 7:24, 5 families had stood and spoken. My mother hadn't moved. Caroline Reed turned to face my mother. The tent was still silent, 200 people watching. Caroline's voice was calm, professional. Mrs. Conklin, our foundation has funded over 50 programs in the last 5 years. We've reviewed hundreds of applications. We look for evidence-based interventions, qualified staff, measurable outcomes. She paused. We've been trying to find someone like Miss Conklin for 3 years. She turned back to me. Our foundation would like to meet with you. Would you be willing to consult for our board? I nodded. I'd be honored. Caroline handed me a business card. Peninsula Children's Foundation, $8 million annual budget. She looked at my mother again. You have a remarkable daughter, Mrs. Conklin. I hope you know that. My mother's champagne glass was still in her hand, still frozen. She couldn't speak. Natalie started crying. Not delicate tears, sobbing. She stood from the head table, walked toward me, mascara running. She stopped 3 feet away. Why didn't you tell us? I looked at her. You never asked. All this time I thought, Mom said you were... She couldn't finish. I said, I know what Mom said. I'm so sorry. She hugged me. 12 seconds. First time in 4 years. When she pulled back, she whispered, I wish I'd known. I whispered back, you could have asked. My father stood, walked toward me. He stopped halfway, looked at the families who'd spoken, at Caroline Reed, at me. He opened his mouth. No words came out. Finally, we didn't know you were doing this kind of work, I said quietly. I told you. 7 years ago. You said I was wasting my degree. He flinched. I didn't mean, yes, you did. He looked at the floor. I stood. I need some air. I walked out of the tent. Jamie followed me. Susan tried to stop him, but he ran after me. Miss Shella, wait! I stopped, turned. He hugged me. Did I do something wrong? I knelt down, eye level. No, Jamie, you did everything right. Everyone was looking. I know. Are you sad? I smiled. Nobody. I'm not sad. Are you happy? I thought about it. Yeah. I think I am. He hugged me again. Susan caught up. I'm so sorry, Shella. I didn't know he was going to. Don't apologize. You did exactly what I needed. She looked confused. I said, I asked you to let him ask questions, remember? She nodded slowly. You planned this. I didn't plan it. I just stopped hiding. I went back inside at 8:45. My parents were standing near the bar. They saw me, didn't approach. Richard, my father, had his hands in his pockets. He looked smaller than I remembered. Diane, my mother, was holding a glass of water, not champagne. Her face was pale. I walked past them. Natalie stopped me near table 8. Can we have coffee? I want to understand your work, really understand. I said, yes, but not this week. I have 11 kids who need me. She nodded. I understand. I didn't respond for 20 seconds. She waited. Then I said, do you? She flinched. I want to. Okay. I kept walking. At 9:15, I left. Mid-reception. Before cake cutting. I knew this would be noticed. Talked about. The sister who left her own sister's wedding early. I didn't care anymore. I'd spent 7 years caring what they thought. Tonight, I chose me. I found Susan and Jamie near the dessert table, hugged them both. Jamie said, Are you leaving? I am. Will I see you Tuesday? Absolutely. He smiled. I walked to my car, got in, drove 42 minutes back to Mountain View. My phone buzzed the whole way. Texts, calls, I didn't look. February 8th. The next morning. I woke up at 6:30. Saturday. Drove to the Los Altos Community Center. Opened at 8. 11 kids were waiting. Jamie ran up to me. Miss Shella, I read the dessert menu last night, all by myself. I knelt down. Did you? I read chocolate and vanilla and strawberry. I'm so proud of you. He hugged me. Susan was there. She pulled me aside. Shella, I got 3 calls this morning. 3 families from the wedding asking if you're taking new clients. Really? Caroline Reed's assistant called me at 7 a.m. They want to meet with you next week. They're talking about funding an expansion of the center, doubling your capacity. I didn't know what to say. Susan smiled. You did it. You didn't let them make you invisible anymore. At 9:15, my phone buzzed. Voicemail from my mother, left at 7:30 a.m. I listened on my break. Shella, it's Mom. We need to talk. Caroline Reed called this morning. She said things I didn't know. About your work. About the children. I didn't know, Shella. Call me back, please. I listened twice. Then I deleted it. I didn't call back. At noon, Natalie texted, Can we have coffee this week? I want to talk, really talk. I waited 20 minutes, then replied, Yes, but not this week. I have 11 kids who need me. She wrote back, I understand. Let me know when you're free. I didn't respond. I'd spent 7 years responding immediately to my family, dropping everything when they called, rearranging my schedule to fit theirs. Not anymore. February 16th, Monday. I was back at the center. Regular schedule, 11 kids, 4 individual sessions. 2 group sessions. At lunch, I sat in my office, looked at a photo on my phone. Jamie at the wedding, reading the menu. His face lit up with pride. I thought about my mother's champagne glass, frozen midair. I thought about Caroline Reed's words, "You have a remarkable daughter." I thought about the 5 families who stood, who spoke, who validated 7 years of work in 5 minutes. I thought about my place card. Ms. Shella Conklin. No profession, no title. And I realized something. They measured my worth by where I sat, by how much I earned, by what they could brag about at dinner parties. I measured it by Jamie reading Chocolate, by Lucia on honor roll, by Connor speaking in full sentences, by 18 families who didn't have to choose between rent and therapy. They measured worth by seat assignments and salary. I measured it by children who can read menus. At 2 o'clock, Jamie's session. He ran in. "Miss Shella, I brought a book." "Let's see it." He held up Green Eggs and Ham. "I want to read the whole thing." We sat down together. He opened the book, pointed to the first word. I. "Good. Am. Keep going." "Sam." He looked up at me, beaming. This was my table, not table 25 in the corner of a tent, not the family overflow. This. 11 kids who needed me, parents who trusted me, work that mattered. Jamie read 3 pages. No help. When he finished, he said, "Miss Shella, did I do good?" I said, "You did perfect." February 28th. 3 weeks later. I'm sitting in my apartment. It's Friday night. I'm writing this all down because I want to remember. Not the humiliation, not the frozen champagne glass, not the place card without a title. I want to remember Jamie's question. I want to remember Susan's voice cracking. I want to remember 5 families standing. I want to remember my mother unable to move for 43 seconds. Because that was the moment I stopped being invisible. Not because I fought, not because I yelled, not because I demanded respect. Because a 9-year-old boy asked me to teach him to read a menu. And the truth did the rest. If you've ever been told your work doesn't matter because it doesn't pay enough, I see you. If you've ever been seated at the table in the corner because you chose purpose over prestige, I see you. Set one boundary this week. Just one. Choose yourself once. And remember, they can assign you a seat. They can leave your profession off your place card. They can introduce you as, "and this is," with no title. But they can't erase what you've built. They can't silence the children who learned to speak. They can't delete the families who stood up. They can't freeze the moment when a 9-year-old asked one question and changed everything. I sat at table 25, with a 9-year-old and a wedding planner and 4 other children. My place card said, "Ms. Shella Conklin." Nothing else. My mother waved from the head table and said, "At least you got a plate?" And when that 9-year-old asked me one question, 200 guests turned to look at my mother. She couldn't move. I counted 43 seconds, and I realized I was never the embarrassment. I was the one who showed up.